Once there was a princess. One day she was wandering in the jungle. Suddenly she saw something shining at a distance. It looked just like any other object to her, but as she approached she saw it wasn't an ordinary tree trunk or rock. The girl went to examine it closer. The moment she touched the shiny object, everything changed around her. She found herself on a large platform above the sea. On one side of the platform sat two girls. They were wearing strange clothes, and they had their hair done up in strange styles. The girl walked closer and closer to them, until her head nearly touched the ceiling of the room. "Hey! Who are you?" one of the girls asked. The girl started backing away. I am Princess Lily. What is this place?" Suddenly, one of the other girls gasped and pointed toward the opposite end of the chamber. A man stood there, with his back turned towards the princess. He had dark blue skin and dark black hair. His outfit was strange too. He wore a blue jacket which had a strange symbol on its front. He held a sword in his hand. As soon as he sensed that another person was near him, he turned around and glared down at the princess. "Who are you? And how did you get here?" the king demanded. Princess Lily quickly replied, "I do not know who I am. But I came here by accident." As soon as she finished speaking, a loud booming sound sounded from outside the room. The king and the girls looked out to see what was going on. They spotted several people running across the plains outside. Some people carried torches while others carried long metal poles. The people carrying the torches began chanting loudly as they ran through the field. "Is this some sort of festival or something?" the princess asked. The queen shook her head. "No, this is an attack." After those words left the queen's mouth, a bright flash came out of nowhere. When they looked again, everything had returned to normal. They were still inside the room. The woman spoke softly, "You've been brought before the king and queen of the kingdom of Naga, for questioning. If you tell me the truth, our people will treat you kindly." The princess looked terrified. "I swore I came here by an accident. I am not an intruder or spy. I want to go back to my own world," said the princess. The queen nodded and motioned for a guard to escort the prisoner to his cell. Then the guards led her away to her prison. On the way out she caught sight of a familiar face. It was the girl with the curly hair who had spoken to her before she entered. Lily could never forget that face even if she tried. Once the princess passed her, she heard a whisper say, "Don't worry. We'll find you. You're safe here." With every step he took, Lily felt a lump forming in her throat. Why did they have to find her when she couldn't remember anything about her own life? The princess didn't know whether to feel relieved or scared. She has powers we cannot comprehend. Perhaps her presence here may pose more danger than what we have imagined, said the weird little king. The queen replied, "If so, then we must find a way to neutralize her. I'm afraid our best chance would be to kill her." In human world, the king and the queen had begun searching for their daughter. The soldiers checked the whole forest to see if a beast ate her or if she is still alive. But they found no signs of blood or something unusual. They were now preparing to go back home and bring their only remaining daughter along. "I'm sorry," said the king, "but we don't seem to be able to locate her anywhere in the kingdom." He sighed deeply as he looked sadly at the ground. "It pains us deeply that she should not exist at all." He paused for a brief moment, then continued, "And yet, she does. There must be some kind of explanation for such a phenomenon. Maybe someone cast a powerful spell on her and made her invisible. At night time, Lily had been put into a small room in the dungeon. Her wrists and ankles were shackled to two rusty chains that had been attached to the wall. Even though she had been locked in for almost half a year, Lily thought she would be used to sleeping on hard stone by now. But somehow being chained to that bed made it worse than ever. Her legs hung off the edge of the bed, which meant she couldn't sleep. She couldn't eat either. Every time Lily thought about getting something to eat, she felt nauseous. She wondered where she really was. All she remembered were flashes of images from the human world. The king and the queen called for the best magicians and asked them to locate their princess. They used all their powers but failed. However, the one magician said, "My powers say that she is not in the human world anymore. She has been transferred to another world." "What?" the king yelled. "Where is she?" The magician answered without hesitation. "The Moon Palace." The king stared at the magician. "This palace is located far from the human realm, in a very secret place. No one goes there." The magician explained further. "It exists in a realm between worlds that is governed by the moon goddess." "That's impossible," the king exclaimed. "The moon goddess is a legend among humans. Only certain individuals can enter the palace, and even then they have to obtain permission from the goddess." The queen looked concerned. "So, what will happen if this moon goddess refuses to grant us entrance?" "Then your daughter may die. She's already sacrificed enough for the human realm." The king lowered his head and looked at the floor. He suddenly raised it and faced his wife. "We must rescue our daughter. Prepare a ship to take us there right now." The queen nodded. Meanwhile, at the Moon Palace, the moon goddess sat behind her throne. "Why have you summoned me?" the moon goddess asked. "There is no easy way out of this, my moon goddess. Our magicians told that our child has been captured by monsters from the human world." "Monsters?" The moon goddess closed her eyes and breathed deeply. "Very well. Give me 3 days. I will send my most powerful magic warriors to retrieve the child." The kings agreed to her terms. Then the moon goddess disappeared, leaving the king standing alone in the middle of the throne room. He began pacing nervously, thinking how he could save his daughter. After all, if they fail to find her soon, they may lose their only heir. In her cell, the princess cried bitterly. She had lost hope in her captors. This situation reminded her all too much of the time she spent in the fairy realm, which now seemed like such a long time ago. She began crying harder. Just when she thought she couldn't cry anymore, tears flowed from her eyes. She was beginning to think her body was breaking down because of all the abuse she endured. Suddenly a voice appeared behind her. "I guess I haven't lost my touch after all. My magic hasn't failed me." The voice belonged to a beautiful girl with long silvery blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. She looked at the princess and smiled. "Come now, you can stop crying and try to look calm." The princess looked over at the girl and asked, "Who are you?" The stranger chuckled. "I guess I'll have to introduce myself. I'm Luna." Luna extended her hand. The princess stared at it cautiously. She hesitated. "How did you manage to find me, if you're trying to kidnap me and force me to come with you?" "Oh please," Luna giggled, "I want to take you to the human world." "So why would I be trying to take you captive? Your father wanted nothing more than to find you. It is very difficult to get out from here as all the monsters are guarding this world. But I have a magic stick. If you point it towards the monsters, they would not be able to see anything." Your parents are waiting for you in the human world. The princess felt relieved. When will we leave this place? Inquired the princess. In the third quarter of the time when everyone will be fast asleep. You will use this stick to trick the monsters and I will use my superpowers, said Luna. When it was quite dark, Luna helped the princess get out of the prison. She guarded the princess closely as they walked through the hallway. Once they stepped outside, Luna pointed her wand forward and began walking away. A strange wind blew around them. Soon they both began flying upwards. How will we fly up? The princess wondered. Luna laughed and whispered, Do you trust me or not? The princess nodded, then she watched as Luna began chanting a spell. The air began swirling around her like a tornado. Once it was over, both women landed on the ground with ease. Here comes your home ground, said Luna. A smile spread across the princess's face. For years she has dreamed of this moment. The king and the queen were overjoyed when they heard the news of their daughter. They thanked Luna profusely for taking care of the princess for so many years. They brought the princess in a carriage to the castle. And the next day, the king and the queen threw a grand party where everyone was invited to celebrate the princess reunion.